Judge mocks teenager in court, shocked to learn he's a genius attorney in disguise. The courtroom was buzzing with the low hum of murmurs. Everyone was in their seats, awaiting the start of the trial. The defendant, a young black teenager named Malik Johnson, stood at the front, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes focused and steady, though his mind was sharp and calculating. At just 17, Malik wasn't your typical teenager, but you'd never know it by looking at him. With his oversized hoodie and nervous posture, he looked like any other teenager dragged into court for the first time. But don't let the hoodie fool you. This kid was about to shake up the entire legal system. The judge, Judge Riley, was an older man, known for his quick temper and condescending remarks. Today, he had one goal in mind: to get through the day without being bothered. And Malik, standing there in front of him, seemed like the perfect person to mock and dismiss. Judge Riley smirked as he glanced down at the file in front of him. Malik Johnson, age 17, accused of petty theft. You sure this is the defendant, counselor? Looks more like a student who got lost on his way to high school. The room fell silent as the judge's voice echoed through the courtroom. Malik's hands clenched for just a moment, but his face remained calm, showing no sign of the fire burning inside him. The defense attorney, Mr. Thompson, a seasoned lawyer with years of experience, stood up, a little unsettled by the judge's remark, but trying to keep things professional. Your Honor, Malik may be young, but he's here to defend himself. I ask that we allow him to speak on his own behalf. Judge Riley waved him off dismissively. Oh, I'm sure he's got a lot to say. How about we get started, Mr. Johnson? What's your defense? Please, try not to waste our time. Malik stood straighter, his voice calm but unwavering. Your Honor, I'm not guilty of this crime. The evidence against me is based on false assumptions. I can prove my innocence, if you'll give me the chance. The judge let out a small chuckle, leaning back in his chair. Oh, I'm sure you can. Tell me, Mr. Johnson, are you planning to represent yourself? How cute! A teenager who thinks he knows law better than the people who've spent their entire careers practicing it. His eyes gleamed with amusement as he glanced around the room, inviting the other attorneys to share in the joke. Malik didn't flinch. He didn't even flinch when the prosecutor, a woman in her mid-30s, gave him a look of skepticism. Instead, he spoke slowly and deliberately. I may not have a law degree yet, Your Honor, but I've studied the law. I've spent years reading legal texts, watching trials, and understanding the way the system works. I know exactly what I'm doing. Judge Riley chuckled again, this time louder. Really? You've read some law books, huh? Well, I'm sure that qualifies you to go toe-to-toe with professionals who've been doing this for decades. Tell me, what is it you think you know that we don't? Malik's eyes narrowed, and for a split second, a flicker of determination crossed his face. I know what it feels like to be misunderstood, to be judged before you even have a chance to speak, and I know how to use that to my advantage. The judge raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued despite himself. All right, Mr. Johnson, show us what you've got. I'll be watching closely, so don't disappoint. Malik stepped forward, his voice steady and powerful. First, let me address the so-called evidence in this case. You've been told that I was seen leaving a store with stolen merchandise, but what you haven't been told is that the security footage was doctored. The timestamps on the video don't match the actual time of the alleged crime. The room fell silent. The prosecutor opened her mouth to object, but Malik was already on a roll. Next, you've heard that I was caught near the scene, but what you didn't hear was that I was with my sister at the time, who can confirm that I was miles away from the location when the theft supposedly occurred. And as for the witnesses who claim to have seen me, they've been pressured by the store owner to point fingers at me. I can prove that, too. Judge Riley's smirk started to fade, replaced by a flicker of hesitation. He hadn't expected this kind of defense, not from a teenager. Malik wasn't just throwing out random words. He was laying out a case, and it was starting to sound more solid than the prosecution's claims. The prosecutor finally stood up, her face red with frustration. "Your Honor, we've already established the facts. This is nothing more than a delay tactic." Malik turned to her, his gaze sharp. "I'm not delaying anything. I'm exposing the truth." The judge sat back in his chair, his hands folded in front of him. He hadn't anticipated this at all. Here was this teenager, this kid he'd mocked, this kid who didn't even look like he belonged in the courtroom, pulling apart the case piece by piece. And it wasn't just luck. Malik knew exactly what he was doing. With a calm that belied his age, Malik addressed the court once more. "I don't expect you to believe me at first. I'm just a kid, right? But all I'm asking for is the chance to prove that this case is built on lies. If I'm wrong, I'll accept the consequences. But if I'm right, I need you to stand with me." Judge Riley stared at him, his expression unreadable. The tension in the courtroom was thick. He'd underestimated Malik, big time. After a long pause, the judge finally spoke, his voice low but filled with a grudging respect. "All right, Mr. Johnson, you've got my attention. Let's see if you can back up your claims. But let it be known, this better not be some childish game." Malik nodded, the weight of the moment settling over him. He knew the stakes were high, but he also knew he had the truth on his side. And truth, no matter how much they tried to bury it, would always rise to the surface. As the trial went on, Malik continued to dismantle the prosecution's case, using his understanding of the law and his sharp mind to expose every flaw in their arguments. By the time the day was over, it was clear to everyone in the room that Malik Johnson was no ordinary teenager. In the end, the charges were dropped, and Malik was free to go. As he walked out of the courtroom, he couldn't help but smile. He hadn't just won a case. He'd proven something far more important. Never let anyone underestimate you, and when they do, make sure they regret it. The judge, who'd once mocked him, now sat silently in his chair, his face a mixture of shock and admiration. Malik had shown him, and everyone in that courtroom, just what a teenager was capable of when given the chance to prove his worth. And that, in the end, was the real victory.